Singapore Airlines counts the folds in every dumpling. 11, every time. Sounds insane until you realize this obsession is why people don't argue about their price. Here's the part that most people don't know. In 1972, Singapore Airlines was a brand new airline with 10 secondhand planes, no domestic market to fall back on, and a prime minister who stood up at the launch dinner and basically said, "Turn a profit or I'm shutting this down." No safety net, no captive audience. They had to compete against the biggest airlines in the world from day one. So they made a decision that sounds simple, but it's actually brutally hard to live by. They said, we can't be the biggest and we won't be the cheapest, so we're going to be the best. And then they spent the next 50 years obsessing over what the best actually means, right down to the folds in a dumpling and the creases in a seat. Today, they're one of the most admired companies in the world. Not just airlines, but companies. And here's what I want you to take from this. Because whether you're running a roofing company, a clinic, a landscaping business, or a body shop, this applies directly to you. Why does starting with nothing sometimes create the best businesses? Constraint. Constraint forces excellence. The thing that looked like Singapore Airlines' fatal weakness was actually the reason they got great. In 1972, they had no domestic market, and every major airline had a captive home audience to fall back on. Singapore did not have that. They had an airport, they had a small population, and a government that would close the airline if it lost money. Because they had no cushion, they had to be better than average. They had to give international travelers a reason to choose them on purpose against 30 established competitors from day one. The constraint did the work. It wasn't an easy option. Excellence stopped being optional. And how can this relate to your small business? Because you have constraints too. You might have a small budget, a small team, no big brand name. The instinct is to treat those as excuses. Singapore Airlines treated this as the focus. They knew they could only win one way, and that was to be relentless with that one way. Here's an example for your industry. A 2-person clinic can't outperform a hospital network, but it can outcare on patient experience. The smaller size is the advantage, not the apology. What does it actually mean to be obsessed with a standard? Obsession isn't drama or stress. It's caring about the details customers can't see. The dumpling folds, the same count every time, thousands a day. Food cooked under simulated cabin pressure so that it tasted right when it was in the air under cabin pressure, because flavor changes at altitude. The customer never sees this, they just taste better. Obsession is invisible by design. The work disappears into the experience. It becomes seamless. Your service business translation means your invisible details like your quote format, your follow-up timing, your job site cleanup, your confirmation emails, the things you do whether or not anyone is grading them, those are your things to obsess over. A landscaper who photographs before and after, sweeps the sidewalk, sends a 48-hour follow-up. The client can't articulate why you feel so professional, but they feel it and they tell their neighbor. Why obsess over something the customer will never notice? Because they notice the pattern, not necessarily the detail. Details compound into a feeling. These people have their act together. Singapore Airlines rejected a finished suite that was worth more than an apartment over a bed latch that was merely stiff, not broken, just stiff. Why? Because stiff is what a customer feels at 3 a.m. when they go to put the bed down in the suite. One stiff latch won't sink a brand, but willingness to ship that stiff latch out is exactly the mindset that eventually does. So when it comes to your business, this could be a messy estimate, or the late callback, or the dusty boots on the carpet. Each one is small, but together they tell the customer that you're a risk. An electrician who wears shoe covers when they come in and lay drop cloths for a 20-minute job, that might seem like overkill, but to the homeowner, they're the reason they call you back. Where does premium actually get decided? Premium is decided in the parts of your business that most others would treat as an afterthought. The creases. There's a factory in Wales that build these seats, and Singapore Airlines specifies how many creases go in the seat and where they go. and they send them back if there are too many. They are quite literally art directing wrinkles. Many companies wouldn't even see this as a thing, but this was a standard for Singapore Airlines. What's the crease in your business? The small finishing detail that you've been treating as not really worth the effort. An example would be a painter who caulks and sands one extra pass so the line is razor sharp where the wall meets the trim. Nobody asked, but everybody notices. Can a premium experience depend on your best person showing up that day? If your standard lives in only your head or maybe your best employee's head, you don't have a standard, you have luck. The training school. Singapore Airlines recruits about 1,000 people a year, and they take them through a 14-week course that they even have sommelier training built in. Whatever you make of this intensity, the business lesson is undeniable. They train the standard instead of just hoping for it. Most business owners are frustrated their team just doesn't care like they do, but the team has never been taught the standard. No checklist, no script, no training. The standard never left the business owner's head. A dental clinic with a written script for when somebody calls will help the patient feel at ease. And every patient gets that founder's standard, not just the receptionist's mood for that day. Why pour your money into something most customers will never even buy? Your top tier offer shapes how the market sees you, even if most customers are only buying your basic standard option. Almost no one flies the suites on Singapore Airlines. It's the halo of their experience. But the suites are why aviation reviewers make videos, why people talk about Singapore Airlines, and why the economy passenger thinks that the whole airline is excellent. The halo is the strategy, the flagship sells the floor. Your signature premium package repositions your entire business. Even clients who don't buy it see you differently. You might be a roofer who offers high-end standing seam metal package, but most of your clients are going to be buying asphalt. But now they're buying asphalt from a roofer who is premium, not just the cheap guy. What's the difference between impressing someone once and being trusted for decades? Singapore Airlines has this customer who has flown with them for 40 plus years. She's 90 years old, and she comes back to them every time because the experience is always premium. The service, the comfort, the efficiency. You can't just get that from a one-time experience. That's because repetition has built that standard. Does your business build the same experience even when you're on vacation? That's the line between a job and a company. A renovation company where every project, whether that's the sales, design, change orders, cleanup, walkthrough, it all runs the same. And the brand feels stable instead of dependent on who's running the crew. That's the difference between you owning a job and you running a company. Doesn't all this obsession just exhaust everyone? Let's be honest. This is a real tension. Obsession has a cost, and pretending it doesn't would be dishonest. In the research that I did on Singapore Airlines, it seemed obsessive. It seemed like really hard edges on their obsession, from relentless pressure, demanding standards, customers who never actually feel satisfied or fully satisfied because their appetite actually just increases and they want more. That can be exhausting as a business owner. And the competition never sleeps. The moment Singapore Airlines launched its £500 million new suites, the Emirates upstaged them with their own first-class suite, already in service. The lesson isn't to obsess until you burn out on everything in your business. It's to obsess over the things that define you as a brand, so that not everything is sitting on your shoulders. You can't personally white glove every detail in your business. Obsession at scale equals standards, plus training, plus systems, and not you working 90 hours per week. This could look like a bookkeeper building a monthly repeatable system, so obsessive clarity is built into the system instead of being redone month by month. Next honest question, what happens if you obsess over the wrong things? Your obsession needs to cater to the customer, not your ego. If you point it at the wrong target, it's just going to be expensive. And not every detail will land with your client. There's a couple that were flying Singapore Airlines in the brand new suite, and they were disappointed because their appetite will always increase and somebody will always find something wrong with even the highest standard. You actually can still get it wrong sometimes, and that's survivable. The win isn't about being perfect. It's about obsessing over the details that change how the customer feels and being willing to learn and hear when you've missed the mark. Obsession plus humility trumps obsession plus stubbornness every time. Don't gold plate the things that customers don't value while ignoring the ones that they truly value. Ask where the experience actually breaks for the client, for your customer. Then aim your obsession there. An auto body shop that obsesses over a seamless paint match and a clean handoff are the things that a customer will judge, rather than a fancy lobby nobody remembers. So what's the uncomfortable truth here? You're probably going to have to care more than your competitors. Your competitors aren't beating you because they're more brilliant. They're winning because they're cheap, they're familiar, and they're everywhere. The only way past that is to be noticeably better. Not 5% better, but noticeably better. The gap is uncomfortable because it costs more effort than most people are willing to put in. And they usually decide it's not worth it, which is exactly why it works. Obsession is the moat you build around your business, and most people won't cross it. So look for the opportunities in your business where your competitors won't do the thing. The opportunity is your competitors won't do it. The bar is low. The willingness to do too much is the whole advantage for your business. An auto body shop that returns every car detailed with before and after pictures and a walkthrough, while the other shop down the road just hands back the keys, is the moat. So what did Singapore Airlines actually do differently? With no domestic market and no price advantage, they had to choose to compete on product and experience. And then they refused to let that standard go for 50 straight years. Consistent, world-class service and obsessive attention to detail, top to bottom, from the crew to the food, cabins, fleet, the airport, the works. And this is how they created trust, desire, and loyalty. Through consistency, every flight, every time, every route. Through a halo product, the suites, it drew the attention and it brought the light onto their product. And it made the whole brand aspirational. Then that caused loyalty. People knew what to expect when they bought an airline ticket with Singapore Airlines. They genuinely feel cared for. The 40-year repeat customer is the proof. It also created a status that was deliberately exclusive rather than chasing volume at the top. Premium isn't claimed, it's demonstrated. That's before, during, and after the service that you do, in the details that most competitors decide isn't worth it. It's just too much. Obsession is the brand. Stop selling the task. Start designing the experience in your business. For the roofer, that is not just roof replacement. It's the photo reports, the spotless job sites, the strong warranties. Specialty work, maybe it's the metal roof. For the painter, it's not just painting the walls. It's the transformation, the color consultation, the finish guidance, the final reveal. For an auto body shop, that isn't just collision repair. It's the meticulous restoration, the detailed handoff, and the before and after videos, and even a follow-up a week later. Let me be honest, you can't build a premium business with average habits. You can't have a messy quote, a slow callback, a team who nobody trained, a job site you wouldn't photograph, and then wonder why customers keep grinding you on price. Premium isn't your logo. It isn't your colors. It isn't your quality on your website. Premium is the standard you refuse to lower when no one would even catch you. Singapore Airlines obsessed over things most businesses would roll their eyes at, the too much. That's exactly why they don't get treated like everyone else. The too much is the moat. I want you to audit 5 things this week in your business. I want you to audit your first impression, which is your website, your Google business profile, the first phone call, the quote request. Does it feel premium, clear, and trustworthy, or like a gamble? I want you to audit your invisible details, the confirmation emails, estimate format, the job site cleanup, follow-up timing. Pick one thing that you've been treating as good enough and fix it. Your team standard. Is your standard written down? Do you have scripts, checklists, expectations, or is it all living in your head hoping that people will catch on to it? Audit your signature offer. This is the premium suites level or halo around your whole business, and it repositions the whole thing, even though customers are probably mostly buying your basic package. The last thing to audit is your consistency test. Would the experience be identical every time, even if you're on vacation? And if not, that's the next system to build. Singapore Airlines is proof that excellence is never an accident. It gets chosen, trained, and repeated 10,000 times. Long after the excitement has worn off, that's where it becomes an obsession. So here's my challenge. Stop asking only, how do I get more leads? And start asking the better questions. How do I become easier to trust? How do I become harder to compare to? How do I build a standard that my team can actually deliver even when I'm not in the room? Because the business that wins long-term isn't the one that's cared once. They're the ones that decide to care obsessively, even build systems to keep on caring. That's not perfectionism. That's how you become the obvious choice in your market. That's inspiring excellence. If you're a service business owner and you're done competing like a commodity, subscribe to the channel because we're going to help you build a premium, trusted, scalable business, a premium experience, because you are capable of doing that. And drop a comment. What is one detail in your business that you've been letting slide? Be honest, because that's where it starts. See you on the next video.